Hey guys, welcome back to the Lovin Dubai show. Have you ever wondered what the legal steps are when accepting a job offer in the UAE, especially if you're on a visit visa? Today we're joined by Sahal and Mohammed from Decisive Zone, who will guide us through the do's and don'ts of starting work before your visa and work permit are finalized, if that's even allowed. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Nice to be here. We're happy.
Happy Tuesday, Decisive Zone. Let's jump into jobs in Dubai. What is a job seeker visa? I didn't even know we had one.
I mean, we did. I think we spoke about it a couple of weeks back. So essentially, there's a lot of people, like we discussed, who come into the country, who want to relocate here, and they don't know where to start off, right? So previously, it used to be a case where people would just come on a visit visa or whatever, come around, look for a, potential gig, etc., and then obviously switch their visa over. But now the government sort of streamlined the process that even you don't have to do that. If your sort of main intention is to come to Dubai, live here, work here, if that's sort of your thing, then you sort of go down that route of the job seeker visa, where you come through, you apply for that visa, so you're legally in the country for an extended period, and you can go ahead and explore opportunities.
I think the major thing is it's in line with the goal of 2040, where every area is improving. They're trying to widen Dubai, but at the same time, they're trying to give people the opportunity to come in lawfully, find employment, and at the same time, do it comfortably, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. There's no strain of timeline. They can do it at the freedom if they want. I can go through a couple of more things in terms of they can have it for 60 days, they can have it for 90 days, they can have it for 120 days.
Wow.
So it all depends how much time you've got to come and actually search for that role. So what that allows you to do is have that flexibility, and there's no rush here. It allows you to find the right opportunity rather than just taking any opportunity, if that makes sense.
I had heard of it, but I'm glad that we're going into the details, because I think it's such an amazing opportunity for people. And the fact that it goes up to 120 days.
Exactly.
What are the requirements? Is it, nationality, age, qualifications, for example?
So in terms of categories, there's a few different categories. It comes into whether you're skilled in certain categories 1, 2, and 3, but it also matters if you've got a degree. That's a sort of another category. The degree has to be, you've had to have had it in the last 2 years, and then you can qualify for a job seeker visa in Dubai.
So mainly for the youth.
That's
it.
In terms of the degree sense, but there's other people who don't have a degree that can also qualify for the job seeker visa as well at the same time. In terms of documents, it's sort of basic documents. If you're going for the skilled part, if you're going for the degree part, it's more sort of your CV, cover letter, bachelor's degree attested, that sort of thing. And obviously proof of funds, right? Because they want to know that you're going to come to Dubai and look for a job, but also have the funds to look after yourself while you're here.
And how much, I guess, do you need in your account to?
So it's around 3,000 dirhams, but nothing crazy. But it depends on what type of stay you're staying for as well. 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. Obviously, the timeline dictates how much funds you're going to need to survive in Dubai.
And 60, 90, 120, that seems like a very fair amount of time by the government. If I get to the 120 and I'm nearly there, is there any kind of leeway or flexibility on another job seeker visa, or how does that work?
So what can happen is you can renew the job seeker visa. You can get another 120 days, another 90 days, another 60 days. A lot of people in that time, you should be able to find a role, because the beauty of the job seeker visa is when you're in Dubai, you're going to see the opportunities, like the benefits are you're going to be able to get interviews. The most important thing is you're going to be able to network in Dubai and meet the people you need to. And then when you're in front of employers, you're there face to face rather than doing it on a Zoom call, which gives you more credibility. You're in there, you're face to face, and your chances are higher to get the job, obviously.
It's so true. I love how the UAE has widened the network, basically make it easier for people to come and to look for those jobs. Yeah. Then, good news, they get the jobs.
Yeah.
Let's say it's on the 110th day. Mm-hmm. How long does the work process, permit and work process actually take to get that visa in the UAE?
I mean, the traditional time frame to get a residency permit, let's say, because in that case, you'd just be switching your visa over, right? Because you technically be in the country on a job seeker visa, and then let's say on day 110 you get a job offer, everything's good. Mm-hmm. You verified the company, which is another key step. You got to make sure that the offer letter you're getting is coming from a credible source. right? Because a lot of times we read Reddit pages and Facebook, groups about, oh, this company gave me an offer letter, and then, we don't know where they are now. So you got to make sure of that as well. But the switchover is about a week's time, because the thing is that once you've applied for it, that's essentially in the labor system, that's good. You know what I mean? So even if you do go to a day 121 and you don't have your visa done, your entry permit issued, etc., but because you have applied for it, you're in the green. So you just have to make sure that you need to have your paperwork in check, and the second you apply for it, you're good.
Visa, the process, it's not always kind of spot on. It can take a little bit longer. So what happens if I start working, I think I'm in the green, but then it's either delayed or rejected? Where does that leave me?
But the thing is that because your application is submitted already, so you're okay. Like regardless, even if it takes you, let's say 15 or 20 days past your 120 days, as long as your visa is in process, no one can say anything to you. Because even if they do ask you, oh, why are you here? Where's your Emirates ID, etc., you can always be like, no, I've already applied for it, and here's my application, and that sort of thing. So you just got to have the ICP app, like we've discussed previously. Just make sure it's on your phone, so you have all of your paperwork's in line. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Like, what is the temporary paperwork? Because I just feel like I would be nervous if the 120 days had passed and I didn't have a visa. Like, can I leave the country, for example? Like, how can I prove that I'm trying to get documented?
Yeah, so the thing is, you can't leave the country while your visa is under process. It's best to stay in the country, because if you do leave the country, you will have to start the whole process again.
We've all been there.
Exactly, right? So once the change of status is done, then it'll be logged onto the ICP that your visa is in process, and it's best to stay in the country, or else, like I said, the whole process will have to start again, and then you're back at step one, essentially.
So if, for example, in an example case, if an employer, I get a job, they ask me to start working, my visa's not ready, what is your recommendation on that?
First thing you got to do is offer letter. Absolute, step one. Make sure you have an offer letter in hand that's, signed, sealed, etc. So that protects your rights as a potential employee for the company, right? Because let's say in the future, because obviously a company does have the right to, change their mind, so to speak. But as long as your paperwork's in check, then you can obviously stand up to them and be like, no, but you've guaranteed me this position, so what's going on. That's step one. Apart from that, it's just a case that just make sure your application is in hand. You've got the ICP app. Just these very little things that would sort of protect you as an individual as well, because it would give you clarity in the future. Let's say, a company does change their mind, they don't decide to go ahead with your visa, etc., and they put you in a position where day 119, you have an offer letter, but they change their mind, you have a dispute, etc., and then now you're stranded. You know what I mean? So in that case, even if you do have to apply for an extension, then this is where this would act as proof that, see, I did get an offer letter, I was meant to start. So even if I do cross 120 days, the immigration would not fine you or, things of that nature. Yeah.
And also the authorities are on your side. If you've got everything documented in terms of your offer letter, you signed a contract, the authorities 99% of the time are on the side of the employee, because you've done everything on your side. You're just waiting for everything to be conducted on the employer's side. So you're well within your rights, and you're in the right place, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we were going to lead on to, is that, if the authorities come knocking, who's at fault if there's no visa there? And you're saying, if I've got my paperwork, it's going to be the employers. What kind of fines are they looking at? Like, if there is a company who is, it's, and we have heard of this, right? Like, there's people, many people, they're waiting for their visas, they're not documented. If the employer is at fault, what type of fines are they looking at?
So in terms of fines, as long as the employee's done everything from their side, they've had all the documentation. If the employer still hasn't done what they've needed to do in terms of visa, work permit, etc., the fines range from 100,000 to up to 1 million dirhams. So they're not light fines, if that makes sense. So it's in the employer's benefit to get everything done. So it's a two-way street, right? It's in their benefit so they don't get fined, and it's in your benefit so you can actually stay in the country legally at the same time.
Okay. Okay, so let's say I've got my job, I'm happy out, but I get terminated, and I want to go home. Is it possible for me to go home on that visa and come back? Or as soon as you get terminated, is your visa just done?
No, so in that case, so let's say, the unfortunate event, someone gets terminated, you have to go back home, you're sad, etc. Okay, I didn't make it sound that bad, but anyway, in that sort of a scenario, it is a case that the second you are terminated, the employer has up to 30 days to cancel your visa, and then you have to exit the country, right? So traditionally, employers prefer to get the cancellation done as soon as possible because that sort of streamlines the rest of the process of handovers and different things that do come with different companies, etc., and processes and all of that. But from that point on, the second you leave, then to come back into the country, you need to get another visa because at that point, the second the cancellation is done, yeah.
I mean, it's a two-way street, right? Like I said, so for them, you're off their books, and for you, you're essentially free. You can leave the country, you can travel, you've got your last paycheck or whatever's owed to you, and essentially you can move on to the next step in your journey, whether it's in Dubai or whether it's outside of Dubai.
It is a scary time, and you mentioned Reddit. Yeah. I saw a Facebook group conversation. It was a woman. She just lost her job. She'd been terminated, so she was immediately seeking something new. And I guess this brings us into golden visa.
Yep.
The final question. So how does the golden visa program impact regular visa holders? If I have the golden visa, I get terminated, I'm safe?
Yeah, you're golden. As they say, yeah, you would be okay because that's one of the perks of the golden visa, right? Because then in that case you're sponsoring yourself, so you're not reliant on an employer or a family member or any other sort of entity to sponsor you. You're your own sponsor. So regardless of, let's say you do lose your job for whatever circumstance, for whatever reason your visa gets, your employment, let's say, is in a bit of a turmoil, your legal status in the country is still safe.
Is there a case where employers apply for golden visas for their employees, or it's always individuals reaching out to you? I
mean, there's companies that offer benefits to employees. So if anyone out there who does want to apply for golden visas for your employees, yeah, there are companies out there who do that because let's say someone's been with you for upwards of 15 years or 20 years and they've shown that kind of devotion to you, then employers, that's sort of a way to pay back, right? Like, you've given us 15 or 20 years of your life,
And it ties into last week's show when you talked about the teachers and their eligibility for golden visas. There's teachers who are also being recommended, and schools are actually applying for the golden visas on behalf of them as well. So yeah, in some scenarios, it's completely doable, yeah.
Such an amazing safety net for people. Yeah. So many little intricacies regarding visas. Thank you guys at Decisive Zone for staying on top of it and then for relaying the information, because otherwise I don't know how we would be able to. There's so much. If anyone watching has questions, how can they reach out? How can they find you?
Get in touch with us. We're online everywhere. DM us, Google Decisive, and yeah, like I always say, we're on top.
or just pop into our office. We're more than welcome.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We serve a great coffee, and we will charge you for it.
Pop in for a coffee, Decisive on Business Bay, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. Lovely office. Guys, thank you so much, Sahal and Mohammed, for joining. We'll see you back here next Tuesday. Really appreciate the chats.
Awesome to be here.
Thank you.
That brings us to the end of the Lovin Dubai show. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Bye-bye.